We like to think of ourselves as the top of the food chain, the apex predator, the species that conquered the planet, tamed fire, built cities, and put footprints on the moon. The hunter that nothing else dares to hunt. But it wasn't always like that. For a huge stretch of our history, far longer than we've been the hunters, we were the hunted. We weren't the monsters of the ancient world. We were the snack. Our ancestors lived in a world full of things that wanted to eat them. Giant cats with fangs like daggers, hyenas that hunted in packs, bears bigger than any alive today, eagles that could snatch a child out of the open. And to those creatures, an early human wasn't a fearsome rival. It was just meat, small, slow, soft, and easy. This is the part of our story we don't like to tell. But it might be the most important part of all, because being the prey is what shaped us into who we are. The fears in your head right now, the way you bond with other people, even why you feel uneasy in the dark, all of it is an echo of the millions of years we spent as somebody else's dinner. So let's go back to when we were the prey. Let's get into it. Let's be honest about what our early ancestors looked like to the predators of their world. The earliest members of our family tree were small. Not the tall, spear-throwing hunters you might picture, but smaller, weaker creatures, more vulnerable than we imagine. No claws, no fangs, not very fast, not very strong. They couldn't fly. They couldn't outrun a big cat. They didn't yet have the tools or the fire that would later make them so dangerous. To a hungry predator, that's not a threat. That's an opportunity. A slow, soft, defenseless creature wandering around in the open is exactly the kind of thing a hunter loves to find. We weren't at the top of the food chain. For a very long time, we were somewhere in the uncomfortable middle, eating smaller things and constantly being eaten by bigger ones. And the predators of that ancient world were genuinely terrifying. This was a time of giants and monsters, and they all saw us the same way. Let's meet a few of the creatures that hunted our ancestors. First, the big cats. The ancient world was full of fearsome cats, including the famous sabre-toothed cats, powerful predators with enormous fangs built to take down large prey. But the cat that may have been the bigger problem for early humans was something more familiar. The leopard. Leopards are ambush hunters. They're stealthy, they're patient, they strike without warning, and they're perfectly capable of killing a creature our size. Even today, leopards will hunt our primate relatives, and they often drag their kills up into trees to eat in peace. Hold that detail in your mind. It's going to matter in a minute, because it's part of how we actually know we were being hunted. Next, the hyenas. Forget the cowardly scavenger cartoon ancient hyenas, some of them larger than the ones today, were formidable pack hunters with bone-crushing jaws. A pack of them, coordinating an attack on a small group of early humans, would have been a nightmare. Then the bears. The ancient world had enormous bears, far bigger than most living today, powerful enough that no early human wanted to cross paths with one. And then the one that really gets under your skin, the eagles. We don't usually think of birds as a threat to people, but large birds of prey are powerful hunters, and there's haunting evidence that big, ancient eagles preyed on our small, early ancestors, especially the children. Imagine a world where death could come not just from the bushes or the dark, but from the sky above you. That's the world our ancestors lived in. Oh, and don't forget the water. Crocodiles lurked at the rivers and lakes, the very places our ancestors had to go to drink. And in the grass, snakes, some of them deadly, some of them huge. Danger came from the trees, from the ground, from the water, and from the sky. There was nowhere that was truly safe. Now, how could we possibly know any of this happened so long ago? This is the genuinely amazing part. The proof is written into the fossils themselves. When scientists study the bones of our ancient relatives, they sometimes find disturbing clues. Tooth marks, bite damage, puncture wounds, bones that were clearly gnawed, cracked, and chewed not by humans but by predators. These ancient remains carry the marks of the creatures that ate them. One of the most famous examples is an ancient child, a member of an early branch of our family tree, whose fossil skull has puncture marks. For a long time, the cause was a mystery, until researchers noticed the marks closely matched the kind of damage a large bird of prey leaves behind. The likely story is chilling. This child was probably killed and carried off by a huge eagle, its skull punctured by powerful talons. Remember that detail about leopards dragging their kills into trees? Scientists have studied collections of ancient bones, including early human bones, found piled in places like the bottoms of natural pits and caves, exactly where a leopard's leftovers might fall from a tree above, or where a den's worth of prey would accumulate. The pattern of the bones and the bite marks on them tell a quiet, grim story. These weren't humans burying their dead. These were the remains of meals. It's eerie, but it's also incredible. These ancient bones are like a crime scene frozen in time. And by reading the marks left on them, scientists can reconstruct the predators that hunted our ancestors and the way they died. The evidence doesn't lie. For a long, long time, we were food. So, what was it actually like to live as prey? In one word, tense. Imagine never feeling truly safe. Every walk to the watering hole could be your last, because that's exactly where the crocodiles and big cats wait. Every patch of tall grass could be hiding an ambush. Every night when the dark came and your weak eyes failed you, the predators with their excellent night vision came out to hunt. You couldn't relax. You couldn't wander off alone. You couldn't let your children stray. Death could come at any moment, from any direction. This constant grinding danger shaped everything about how our ancestors lived. And here's the fascinating thing. It didn't just make their lives hard. It started to make us who we are. Being hunted paradoxically pushed us to develop the very traits that would one day make us unstoppable. Let's look at how. First, and most importantly, being prey forced us to band together. A lone early human was an easy kill. But a group has many pairs of eyes watching for danger. A group can warn each other, can make noise, can stand together, can fight back as one. There is genuine safety in numbers, and for a creature surrounded by predators, sticking together wasn't just nice, it was the difference between life and death. The relentless pressure of being hunted is one of the deep reasons our ancestors became so intensely social, so dependent on the group, so wired to cooperate and to belong. Think about that. The closeness you feel to your family and friends, the deep human need to belong to a group, the pain of being left out and alone. Some of that traces all the way back to a time when being alone literally meant being eaten. Togetherness is in part a survival instinct burned into us by predators. Second, being prey sharpened our minds and our senses. To survive among hunters, you have to be alert, clever, and aware. You have to read the landscape for danger, remember which places are risky, recognize the signs that the predator is near, and think one step ahead. Prey animals that pay attention and outsmart their hunters survive to have offspring. Over a very long time, that pressure helped favor sharper senses, better memory, and quicker thinking. In a strange way, the predators were helping to make us smart, just by trying to eat us. And third, being prey may have pushed us to develop better communication. If you spot a leopard in the grass, you need to warn the others fast and clearly. The ability to make different sounds for different dangers, to share information about threats, to coordinate a response, all of this is more valuable when something is constantly trying to kill you. The roots of our incredible gift for communication may run right back through those dangerous, predator-filled days. So all those things we're proud of, our tight social bonds, our cleverness, our alertness, our ability to talk and cooperate, were in part forged by fear. We didn't become these things in spite of being prey. We may have become them because of it. For a long time, the predators had all the advantages. But slowly, the hunted started to change the rules. And this is where our story begins to turn. It started with tools. A bare-handed early human was helpless against a big cat, but a human holding a sharpened stone or a pointed wooden spear suddenly has fangs and claws of its own held in the hand, and far longer than any animal's. A group of humans with weapons is no longer a soft, easy meal. Now there's a cost. Now the predator might get hurt. And a smart predator avoids prey that fights back. Then came the masterstroke. Fire. For every other animal, fire means terror. But we became the creature that controlled it. And once we had fire, the night stopped belonging to the predators. Fire pushed back the dark. It kept the hunters away from our camps while we slept. It meant that for the first time, we could rest safe in a ring of light instead of lying awake in terror. Fire flipped the night from the predator's hunting ground into our protected home. And then, working together with weapons and fire and clever plans and pure cooperation, we did the unthinkable. We didn't just defend ourselves. We went on the attack. The same teamwork that once helped us survive being hunted now let us hunt and bring down animals far larger than ourselves. The prey learned to coordinate, to trap, to outsmart, to overwhelm. And one by one, the creatures that once hunted us started to fear us instead. This is the great reversal of our story. We climbed the food chain. We went from the hunted to the hunter, from prey to apex predator, from a small, soft creature hiding in fear to the most dangerous animal the planet has ever known. And we did it not by becoming bigger or stronger or faster, but by being smart, by being together, and by inventing the tools and the fire that changed everything. Here's the part that really gets me. That ancient time as prey ended long ago. We're at the top now, and yet the fear never fully left us. It's still in there, and you carry it every single day. Ever felt a jolt of fear at the sight of a snake or a spider? Even a harmless one? That instinct runs deep, and it makes sense for the descendants of creatures for whom a snake in the grass really could be death. Ever felt uneasy in the dark, like something might be watching, even when you know you're perfectly safe? That's the ghost of millions of years spent fearing the night, when the dark truly was full of hunters. Ever had your heart race at a sudden noise behind you? That's a body still wired to treat surprise as a possible predator. These fears aren't flaws. They're inheritance. They're survival software written into us during the long ages when we were the prey, and never fully deleted, because for most of our history, that fear kept us alive. The part of you that feels watched in the dark is the same part that kept your ancestors checking the shadows, and checking the shadows is exactly why your ancestors lived long enough to become your ancestors. So when you feel that little spark of ancient fear, don't be embarrassed by it. Honor it. It's a message from 100,000 grandparents who survived a world that was trying to eat them all, so that you could lie safely in a warm room and only imagine the monsters in the dark. So let's bring it home. We did not start at the top. We started as the small, soft, frightened thing that everything else wanted to eat. We spent vast stretches of our history as prey hunted from the trees, the grass, the water, and the sky, our bones left scattered as somebody else's meal. But that brutal apprenticeship is exactly what made us. Being hunted drove us together, sharpened our minds, gave us reasons to communicate, and pushed us toward the tools and the fire that would eventually flip the whole script. The weakness was the forge. The fear was the teacher. We didn't become the most dangerous animal on earth in spite of being prey. We became it. Because somewhere, deep down, a hunted creature refused to stay at the bottom. We are the prey that fought its way to the top, and we never forgot the climb. It's still written in our bones, in our bonds, and in the little flicker of fear you feel when something moves in the dark. You come from survivors, the ones who watched the shadows stay together and made it through a world full of monsters. That's a pretty incredible thing to be. And being hunted may have shaped us in an even deeper way, right down to how we talk and how we sleep. Let me show you two haunting little echoes of our time as prey. First, listen to our relatives. Some monkeys that live surrounded by predators have something remarkable different alarm calls for different dangers. One specific call means there's an eagle above, look up and take cover. A different call means there's a leopard on the ground, get up into the trees. Another means there's a snake in the grass, watch your step. The other monkeys hear the call and react instantly in exactly the right way for that exact threat. Stop and think about what that really is. That's the beginning of language. It's a sound that carries specific life-saving information about the world understood by everyone who hears it. And the pressure that made it so valuable was in large part the pressure of being hunted. When something is constantly trying to kill you, being able to shout the right warning fast and clearly is the difference between the group living and dying. So our incredible gift for communication, the thing that would one day let us share ideas, tell stories, and build entire civilizations, may have its deepest roots in a simple, desperate cry of danger. Language, in a sense, may have begun as a scream of warning in a world full of monsters. Now the second echo, and this one you act out every single night. Why do humans sleep in groups? Why does it feel so much safer, so much more natural to sleep near others than completely alone in the open? And here's a stranger question. Why do different people get sleepy and wake up at different times? The night owl, who's up late. The early bird, who rises before dawn. The light sleeper, who stirs at every little sound. Some scientists think this isn't random at all. They think it might be an ancient survival system, a built-in night watch. Picture our ancestors sleeping as a group around the fire. If everyone fell into a deep sleep at exactly the same moment, the whole group would be completely defenseless, blind, and helpless in the dark, just as the night predators came out to hunt. But if people naturally drift off and wake at slightly different times, then at almost any hour of the night, somebody is awake. Somebody's eyes are open. Somebody is there to notice the snapped twig, the glint of eyes in the dark, and to wake the others. The group is never fully asleep, never fully unguarded. So the differences in our sleep, the night owls and the early risers, might be the leftovers of an ancient rotating guard duty, a way for a vulnerable group of prey to keep one eye open through the dangerous dark all night long without anyone even having to be told to do it. Isn't that incredible? the way you talk, and the way you sleep. Two of the most ordinary things about being human may both carry the fingerprints of the predators that hunted us. We warn each other because our ancestors had to. We sleep close together in shifts we never planned because our ancestors who did were the ones who survived the night. We escaped the predators long ago, but they're still in there, shaping us in ways we never notice. Quiet ghosts living in our voices and our dreams, a permanent reminder written into the deepest parts of who we are, of the long, dangerous ages when we were the prey. If this gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe. There's a new ancient human story waiting for you every week, and the playlist of our whole wild journey is right here on screen. Thanks for coming with me back to when we were the hunted. And remember, the next time you feel watched in the dark, that's just your inner survivor still doing his job. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.